Welcome to the Big Success Show. Today, 4 questions to ask yourself for a smooth career change.
Big Success with the professor and Mary-Lynn.
Survey says, I saw a survey the other day.
Okay.
And it was saying something about that the average person changes their career 5 to 7 times during their career.
Wow, that's a lot.
That is quite a bit,
It sounds
isn't
like
it?
a lot, but then I guess over the course of, how many
A career
years?
of 40 years plus,
Yeah,
right?
that's
it's
not
maybe
so
not
bad.
so much. But I think the pandemic actually has accelerated, if not the number of people changing, at least the number of people wanting to make a change.
Absolutely.
And that's why we're here today, to talk about that very thing. Hi, I'm George Kruger, a.k.a. the Professor.
And how to make it as smooth as possible. And I'm Mary-Lynn, right? That
Exactly.
career change. When you're considering changing careers, you can quickly become overwhelmed with the abundance of information, choices, decisions to make. But we have some good news for you. You can boil it all down to 4 simple questions.
4
That's just
simple
it. Yeah,
questions.
just 4.
Hey, I got to listen to this. This is going to be kind of interesting.
Well, let's pull out the professor's whiteboard to get those 4 questions.
Man, Mary-Lynn, I need to change my career to closet organizer.
Actually, I don't think so. How long have we been going? You never get this thing cleaned
I
out.
need to change my occupation to my closet organizer. It's a full-time job.
All right, here we are with 4 questions to ask yourself for a smooth career change. And number 1 is, what do you want and need?
So describe, and we suggest you write it down, actually. Just write it, type it, whatever works best for you. I love to type it, but sometimes it's kind of cool to just write things down, because actually I think we recall them better when they're written. But
But actually, and one more tip, though, use that recorder on your phone.
Oh, that's good. That's a good point, too.
And then transcribe it or whatever. But sometimes it's easier just to record a train of thought.
That's exactly right, because as soon as I get a train of thought, that train goes away. I lose it. But here's the thing. To start out with your want and needs, first describe your ideal job. Picture it clearly in your mind. I mean, so clearly that you feel like you're there, that you're really literally living it.
And in this case, Professor,
Yes.
would you just, at this very moment, just remove any kind of obstacle? Sometimes they say when you brainstorm, don't put any obstacles in the way, or even, your current situation, money worries, money concerns. At this point, if money and time were not an issue, this is what I would do.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mary-Lynn. That's a great way to start. Now, we do want to bring in our limitations at some point.
Right.
I may want to be a professional basketball player, but when I look at myself in the mirror, I realize that that's probably not going to go so well. Okay? So I guess you got to be cognizant of that, but I agree with you. I think the reason for what you're saying, Mary-Lynn, is it's so important to do that because we are so used to, we find the limitations before we almost have the thought of what we could do out of our head.
Right.
And so by just saying, okay, I'm not going to be restricted, it opens up your mind for brainstorming, and it helps you recall things and include things in this description of your perfect job. It's going to help you get things in there that you might otherwise miss.
Okay.
So here are some examples. Do you see yourself working at a desk? Or do you see yourself maybe out in the field,
Sure.
a field person?
Or remote.
Yes, or remote,
Thanks
yes.
to the pandemic, more remote at home. What does your workplace look like?
Yes, and is it at home or is it in an office, right? So,
Right. Yeah. Or, are you in an enclosed building? Do you need windows? What would your preferred atmosphere be?
exactly. And do you like to work with a lot of people, or do you mostly like to kind of be left to yourself to do your thing, and then, occasionally you maybe get around some people?
When do you work? What hours do you prefer to work? What shifts are your favorite?
And when you're picturing this ideal job, what kind of work are you doing? Are you leading people? Are you administering tests? Are you talking to people?
Is it manual labor?
Exactly. These are the things you want to think about. So now, as part of that ideal job, also consider how much you need to make. Think about your other commitments, Like what is required outside of your work?
So now we're starting to put in those
Limitations.
Limitations. Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, if you're a parent and you're the one who drops the kids off from school and picks them up, well, then that's going to have an impact on what kind of a job you can have, what the hours are, those kinds of things. But by allowing yourself, I think, to open up, now you can say, okay, well, here are the restrictions. Could I still get that kind of a job that works with my schedule, that works with my limitations?
And I also think we always want to consider total cost. So like when we buy a car, we should look at the total operating cost. When we buy a piece of equipment for a business, we always look at total operating costs. It's not just what you pay your day, it's what you kind of have to pay or what it's going to cost you down the road. In a similar vein, when you're thinking about your compensation requirements, think about it. Compensation can mean a whole lot of things. For example, as we learned during the pandemic, it's really nice to not have to commute. And it's really nice to be able to work at home for certain people more so than others. But if you really, really like that, keep in mind that as you negotiate for what you're wanting as part of your perfect job, it may not be all driven by money. It may be driven by flexibility, for example, that you get to work at home more often than you might otherwise if you had more pay.
So lots to consider here.
Absolutely.
But that question number one really helps you kind of drill down what it is that you want and what it is that you need.
Absolutely.
All right, so now question number two on the professor's whiteboard. What are your strengths and weaknesses?
There are certain things that you can do better than most people, even me, Mary-Lynn. There are certain things I can do better than one or two other people, right? So what are those things? What is it that you kind of, to you, they're kind of simple or easy, but to other people, it's a struggle? And drill deep and really, really think about this. Don't be shy.
And don't be humble.
Right. This is not the time to be humble. Admit that you really are good at doing certain things.
And if you have trouble, reach out. Ask friends, ask relatives. They'll tell you. I mean, they'll tell you exactly what you're really good at. And it might surprise you.
Except, Mary-Lynn, I asked you to do that. And you said there was nothing I was really good at.
That is not true.
Okay.
I love your self-deprecating humor, but don't bring me into it.
Well, here's the key, though. Don't be delusional either, right? So don't take it too far the other way.
So that's where I have to pull you back. No, I'm just joking.
Well, you never know. So we all have things that we don't do as well as others, right? What are yours? Mary-Lynn, I'm asking, what are yours? No, I'm kidding.
Oh, no, I could list them off, but I won't here to save time.
Well, there's nothing wrong with admitting that you are not the best at everything.
And you really should. You have to. I mean, come on.
It's liberating.
Yes, it's true.
It also helps you find your niche, right? It helps you figure out where you fit in the world, and you know what you need to work on or stay away from.
Yeah, and I think that it's also helpful that now, when you're looking for that company to work for, if your strengths are complementary to their weaknesses, that's going to be very helpful, and vice versa. Then they're going to be able to provide that support that you need where your weaknesses are.
Mary-Lynn, I even think about the two of us and starting Big Success, and we didn't really have a formal conversation really about who was going to play what roles. We just kind of naturally started our roles, and they fit together like a glove, or two hands with fingers folded, right? But the point is that I think whoever you're working with, you want to make sure that you do have an understanding, in a sense, of their weaknesses and their strengths, and then that way you can, help them shore up their weaknesses, and then actually for their strengths, that's something you can rely on.
Absolutely. All right, we're talking about 4 questions to ask yourself for a smooth career change. And number 3 is, what opportunities match your personal criteria? So at this point, Professor, we could say that you're ready to move beyond your wants, needs, strengths, and weaknesses. And what you're looking at now is the external world. Yeah,
we kind of move from internal to external, and there are a lot of opportunities. You want to find that perfect match with your personal criteria.
So can you explain a little bit more about what this means?
Well, for example, you want to find an industry that's growing, right?
Okay,
because an industry where there's no growth, there's no opportunity. Yeah. And so where there's growth, there's opportunity. So one of your personal criteria probably is going to be that you want to be with a firm that's growing. You want to find a business whose mission and their culture fits with your skills and your desires. Because there's nothing like, you feel like a fish out of water if your culture, if you don't fit into the culture.
Absolutely.
It reminds me of a friend of mine who, and companies do a poor job sometimes with onboarding. And a friend of mine went to work for a bank. He worked there. It was fine. But the first Friday they were in a college town, first Friday of the college team's first home game, first game of the season, everybody came to work the Friday before. The game was on Saturday. Everybody came to work in the colors of the school. They still were in suits, but they had, the right colors, so they fit right in with the team, right?
Okay.
Well, my friend didn't just wear regular clothes because nobody had told him what was going on.
Oh.
So the next week he shows up and he's all decked out in school colors. Nobody else is. So he asks, well, why, last week everybody was in full gear. Why not this? Whoa, it's an away game. We don't do that on away games. My point is, if there's a culture that's got a problem like that, you probably want to really be careful about getting involved with that kind of company.
But I mean, bad communication is pretty typical
everywhere. It can be, sure. But I mean, I will tell you.
The culture of that company seems like it was fun. It's just that nobody told the new guy, Could
be. You might be right, and I'm not saying they're not. What I would do is, the other thing I might do is I might try to talk to past employees. If you can find people who used to work there, it's kind of like if you can find a person who used to own a franchise for a franchise business you're considering, you learn a whole lot about that business from people who are no longer there.
That's a great point.
The key thing here is just to do your research so you can determine likely targets, organizations, businesses you'd want to reach out to for a possible job.
Right. That's great because, like you said, I mean, it could be the perfect job on paper, but if you get there and you just can't get along with anybody, or you don't feel like it's a place that represents who you are, then you're just going to feel lost. Then it doesn't matter that it's the perfect job. And
I think the bottom line, Mary-Lynn, is in business, we often talk, if you're buying a business, you want to do due diligence. Well, even with a career change or even just a jobs change, you want to make sure that you're doing your due diligence. You have your opinions about the way things are and what a company's all about and all that kind of thing, but you want to confirm those. You want to verify those, and that's what the due diligence process does. Remember, they're looking for somebody, but you're looking for somebody too.
Excellent point, Professor. And now, number 4 on the professor's whiteboard, 4 questions to ask yourself for a smooth career change. How will you get the word out? Because you need to think of yourself as a personal brand. So how are you going to brand you, right?
Well, and just like any other brand, you are communicating your message all the time, even when you're not looking for a job. So keep in mind that you may be listening to this and, you don't really have a career change in mind yet, but you were maybe it's in the back of your mind and you're just kind of starting to explore. Keep in mind that's your timing's right. If not, you could be here even just a little earlier. Just keep thinking that every single day, every single hour, every single minute, you're building your personal brand. And that's going to serve you well into the future. Develop a plan to get the word out. That's the key thing with this whole personal branding process.
Right. So, and especially, you need to get the word out when you are looking for that smooth career change. So the key thing here is to build that network, right? So grow your network, but also reconnect with your existing network.
Yeah. Make sure your resume fits the standards of a modern resume, updated if need be. And in fact, don't necessarily think of it as a resume. Think of it as your brochure. It's selling you and your brand.
You're going to definitely want to update your online profiles and make sure that your profiles like LinkedIn especially showcase what your specialty is. What is it that you do better than anybody else, and what is it that you're known for? Yeah,
there's many, many more ways you can get the word out. The key thing is just to decide what's best for you and then get started.
So let's review the professor's whiteboard for the 4 questions you need to ask yourself for a smooth career change. Number 1, what do you want and need? Number 2, what are your strengths and weaknesses? Number 3, what opportunities match your personal criteria? And number 4, how will you get the word out?
A lot of people change careers, but they don't really think about it. Set aside some time to go through these 4 questions so you find a career path that fits you perfectly. It leads to big success.
Make sure you don't choose the wrong career. Our life purpose quiz can help. It's free. Take it at Big Success. That's big with 2 G's, success.com. And join us next time. We're going to tell you the story about the man who turned a part-time job into a billion dollar business.
That's billion with a B.
That's billion with a B.
Wow, that's amazing.
Boy, oh boy.
We thank you so much for listening today.
Until next time,
here's to your big success.
Find Big Success at biggsuccess.com.